Welcome to Madlik. My name is Jeffrey Stern, and it is Shabbat in Tel Aviv. Tonight, I'll be going to Hostage Square to show my solidarity with the hostages and their loved ones, and then on to Kaplan Street to protest the current government. You're about to hear a conversation I had with one of the leaders of the veterans of the Yom Kippur War called Beyahad Em Lochamey Kippur, 1973. Last July, I saw these 70-something veterans protesting the judicial reform from atop a tank. Once the war started, they pivoted to support today's soldiers by putting mobile showers on flatbed trucks and offering a warm shower to active soldiers at the front. Join me for a conversation with Elimelech Crystal. Okay, we are in a car. I'm with my friend Elimelech Crystal, who is wearing a t-shirt that says Lochamey Kippur, Fighters of Kippur. And the first time I came across that t-shirt was at the demonstrations before October 7th. And a friend of mine pointed out a bunch of guys, probably in their 70s, 60s, 70s, who were on top of a tank. And these were veterans of the Yom Kippur War. And they were protesting for democracy. And we're going to find out what they did once the war started. But first, let's say hello to Elimelech. And thanks for driving us today and participating in the Madlik podcast. How are you, Elimelech?
I'm fine, very fine. And I'm optimistic.
Okay, so we can stop the podcast right now on that positive note. But why don't we start from the beginning? Where were you before the war? And by that I mean the Yom Kippur War. Tell us about what makes you a Lochamey Yom Kippur.
I was the commander of a tank, Peton, and a day before the Yom Kippur War, on the 5th of October, I was supposed to go to a vacation release from the army. This means I had 2 weeks vacation, and then I'm going to a base in the center of Israel and released from the army. I was based in Rafah, in Rafiah, and I was on the bus to go home. And 12:30, they told us that we cannot go. Maybe something is happening, and we cannot go home. So we got off the bus, and we stay in the base, all of us. All of the people in the base, we had a Shabbat dinner, and we had a good mood, and we celebrate. And then in the morning of Yom Kippur, we sense that something bad is going to come. And around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, we understood that something happened on the Suez Canal. And I think around 1 o'clock, we got the order to arm the tanks and to go on the wheels to the Suez Canal. We came to the battlefield around Sunday morning. It was quite a mess. Nobody knew what's going on around. And we understood from friends that we met close to the Suez Canal we understood that many of our soldiers on the front line was killed, and that the Egyptian penetrate Sinai Desert in 2 or 3 places, and they are on the east side of the canal. Our fortification was bombed, and we have around 22 fortification along the Suez Canal, and we started to understand that some of them was conquered. Of course, Sunday you heard bombs. We didn't hear, we were worried because we didn't hear airplanes. So we understood that something happened to our Air Force that is not around. We didn't sleep this night. We couldn't sleep. And Monday morning, we got the order to attack, and we will start, driving the tanks towards the canal. And we came to a place close to the Firdan bridge. We saw the water, we saw the bridge, but all around was full of Egyptian. They were running between our 22 tanks with missiles, with small suitcases that they have rockets there, and they were shooting, and they were hitting the tanks. And we, for the people that grew up on the legend, that when the Egyptian hear the noise of the tank coming, we will see shoes, and we won't see any soldier because they will all run away. This was the stories and the legend that we grew up in the armed tank. So we see people running towards us with the missiles, ammunitions, and unfortunately about 16 tanks were burning. Our regime was kept in surprise, completely surprised, and the tanks were be hit one after the other. At one moment, because I was a half body out of the shell, how do you call it?
In the turret.
In the turret, tzariach, yes. So I found myself flying in the air and hearing a bomb below me. I was like, I felt that I'm burning in my face, and I found myself on the sand, and my tank keep on driving to go towards the Suez Canal, a hole in the chest. I couldn't breathe well. My eyes, right eye, I see only blood, and I was burning. All the right side of my face and the shoulder was burned, and put me on this tank. We went out of the battlefield, and I found myself in the field hospital. They put a tube in my chest to try to help me to breathe. Took me with an helicopter to the hospital in Refidim. From Refidim, they took me by other helicopter to Beersheba, to Soroka. And after 2 months in 3 different departments in the hospital, I was fixed very well, and they released me home. And this is my participation and the remembrance of Yom Kippur. I must admit, when I came back to Jerusalem after releasing from the hospital, I couldn't understand how life is keeping as usual. Most of my friends were killed in this war, and I saw that things are, like nothing happened. We were not surprised that we were not attacked, that everything is okay. We almost lost the country, but the government is still there. Golda is still there. In December, the end of December, they made an election, and Golda Meir and Dayan won 51 seats in the Knesset, and they formed a new government. And this is when one of the only fortification in Suez Canal that didn't surrender, and the commander of this fortification, Moti Ashkenazi, came to Jerusalem. I remember in the winter of 74, in January 74, and he stood alone in front of the Prime Minister building, in front of Golda, and he demanded that Golda and Dayan will resign. And I was between the first 50, 60 people that joined him there, and from week to week a movement of the veterans became stronger, and on April 74, Golda resigned and Dayan resigned, and they formed another government.
So before we get to the parallels between what you just described and today, I want to pause for a second, because you also told me that after the war it changed your attitude to life. And I think we would be remiss if we didn't pick up on that as well. I think you said something to the fact that you decided to be happy every day. Something along those lines? What did you tell me? How it changed you? You were given a new life.
I was in the hospital, and all the news from the battlefield are coming very quick, and day by day I heard that this friend was killed, the other friend was killed when they crossed the canal, the Suez Canal, and get the Armia, Third Armia surrender, these two guys killed many of my friends that were on the front line in Yom Kippur War. And when they cross the Suez Canal for the other side, and when they were fighting in the Suez town, were killed. So I told myself, and I thought about the place, the hell that I got off, and if I'm saying that 16 tanks were burned, were hit in this battle on Monday, the 8th of October, you multiply this in 4, you can understand that not only that the tanks were burned there, also 16 multiply with 4, how much? I'm a lawyer, I don't know
64
mathematics.
something like that?
64 soldiers were killed from our regime in this day. And I ask myself, how come that I'm out of this hell? And I realized that it's like somebody gave me a present, gave me life back. And if I have to live my life, I must be optimistic, I must be happy, I must do the right thing, I must... You know what I want to if I mention this, you know, I have a very good friend from Kibbutz Dovrat, Ephraim Israeli. And Ephraim Israeli and me were very good friends. We started the army together, bed beside bed. For 1 year in the intensive life of the army, for 1 year we've been together. And Ephraim was killed when he crossed the Suez Canal with his tank. I think it was 21 or 22 of October. His younger brother that also were in the armed tank were killed as well. And every Memorial Day since then, we are a small group of people meeting at the Memorial Day before the Independence Day of Israel. We're meeting in the cemetery in Kibbutz Dovrat. And I'm asking myself if the sacrifice of this, if I'm worth that they sacrifice their life for me and for the others, if what did we do the last year that we deserve their sacrifice, if you understand what I'm trying to say. And this is why I was trying to do good stuff, good things. Always to be, always to live with a half full glass, not the empty glass, and to do the right things to me, to my family, but also to the community around.
So fast forward, it's obvious at this point that you're an optimist, that you're a patriot, you're a successful businessman, a successful real estate lawyer. You took part in protests after the Yom Kippur War. Fast forward 50 years, let's go back a few months before the war, and you were part of a movement of veterans who were continuing the same type of protest that occurred after the Yom Kippur War. Tell us who you are, what this group is, what were you protesting for, and then let's talk about how things have changed since the war on October 7th.
In January 23, Yariv Levin, the Minister of Justice, came on the TV and he declared a war on the Supreme Court in Israel. And we sense by his speech, we sense that we are in danger. We are in danger because Netanyahu create a very extreme right government. But until, at the first day, we didn't realize the danger that it could bring. But from this day, I remember, we were shocked. For 1 week, we were shocked, and we understood that something bad is happening. And a week, 2 weeks later, a group of veterans from Yom Kippur, we got together and we started to think what we should do. And fights in the Knesset started, fights in the street started, and we wanted to contribute extra value to the arguments and to the discussions and the fights in the streets. So we are all from the armed tanks. We went and we find in Ramat HaGolan an old tank that was burned in the war, and it was thrown away in Golan Heights. And we thought that we should take this tank, we should put him on a truck, we should stretch the Independence Declaration on this tank, and we'll go to the citizens in Israel, we'll ask them to be together, to go back for the base where the country was established, and when the Independence Declaration were written and signed by our leaders, and to spread the message that if changes needed, then we should make the change by a mutual understanding, wider as it could be, and based on the principle that written in the Independence Declaration.
I would think that based on the fact that you all risked your lives and gave your best friends, your brothers, for this country, that you were hoping that your voice would be heard a little bit louder. We were talking earlier today, and I asked you about the future. Where are we going to get our leaders? And you started talking about where we need to look for our leaders, and you said something to the effect that we shouldn't be looking up, we should be looking around. And I think part of that is amongst the soldiers who are fighting now. Did I hear correctly?
Yes, of course. There are, I believe the politicians, our politician failed us. I believe that it's not only our Prime Minister The Prime Minister is the first, and he's the blame, and he's doing all the wrongs to turn us into some kinds of dictatorship. But he will fail it. He won't succeed. He didn't succeed. But it's not only him. I think also other leaders that are became to be professional politicians should go away. And I believe that our leaders now are fighting in the north, fighting in Gaza, and are walking between us. And we have to look for them and to encourage them to push them to the first line, and to try to bring them to that everybody will see them and focus on them. And we need to go back to the basic.
So, you know that I run a charity, and since the war, we've been overwhelmed by requests for assistance to Israel, support for the soldiers, trauma, the citizens of Israel that have been relocated. But your organization, and I think you, sent me a request that I have to say, of all the requests that we received, I don't know if the right word is to put a smile on my face, but the request was your group had come together, you'd pivoted right after the war started, and decided how could we serve the soldiers. And you came up with the idea of putting showers on the backs of flatbed trucks with heaters, with water, with everything that would possibly be needed to provide showers for the soldiers, and bring them to the border so that when the soldiers were given an hour or two or a half day off, they could come and take a warm shower. And that in of itself was just a beautiful offer. But what really inspired me was this image of veterans from the last existential war coming, welcoming, supporting soldiers of today's existential war. And this connection between what you've experienced and what they're experiencing. And of course, what you just said now, your goals, your hopes are with, and all of our hopes are with those soldiers. And today, we went to the border of Gaza. We met with a group of young soldiers, and we took a look at one of those showers. And I'd love to hear what else you're doing, but I do believe that I'm sure the irony is not lost on you, and that you understand that when you speak and your fellow veterans speak, you have a voice that is stronger than any of ours. And when you go and reach out to those young 18-year-olds who are fighting today's war, I've got to believe there's a special kesher, there's a special connection between you both, and you probably both give each other strength.
Sorry?
And I think you probably both give each other strength.
Look, the situation in 73 and today was the same. The only difference was that we were fighting 200 kilometers away from the borders of Israel, the Suez Canal, and they are fighting inside Israel. What happened? That they conquered kibbutzim, they conquered places, that they came to Ashkelon, to Shderot, and to Zikim, and it was worst because people really had to fight for the houses, to protect their houses, not in theory. And we saw it today in Nirim. We saw it, that the houses, the burning houses, and what happening, and we heard live evidence of what happened there. I think that the solidarity of the civilian community in Israel and the arvut, the guarantee, the mutual guarantee that we feel towards each other is much stronger than any of our enemies can imagine. Although we had this argument, although we were fighting in the street, 130% of the miluimnikim, of the veterans, went to the war, went and wear a uniform again. And it was after a very bad year that somebody divided us to, if you are with me, then you are okay. If you are against me, you are a traitor. Everybody in Israel, the citizens, take myself for example. It doesn't matter if I am right or left. If I don't support Bibi, I am a lefty traitor. This is the sticker that he put on us, and we have to fight it. We have to change it, and we are going to do it, and we insist to keep on doing it, and we are not going home. We are not going home. If tomorrow will be election, we will be in the street. If the government will be elected and we will form another government in Israel, we are going to sleep with one eye open. We are not going away after what happened, and I'm sure many others will join us on this, because we have to secure the life of our grandkids. I'm not talking about my kids. I'm talking about grandkids. I want to be sure that they will have the best country in the world, with values, with the based values that our founders create, and we grew upon them. Liberty, freedom, justice. If you want to be a religious, you are free to be a religious. If you don't want to be religious, everything is okay. If you want to be a liberal, Democrat, liberal, will accept you. If you want to be religious, will accept you. We have to live together. We know that we don't have any other choice. If we will be weak, all the communities of the Jewish people around the world will be weak. And we cannot expose ourselves, and we cannot expose them to threats.
So I think the story that's being told is that all of the groups that were part of the protests before the war, whether it's your group or Warriors for Democracy, whatever they are, they pivoted and stopped demonstrating and went down to help the war effort and support the citizens. But what I'm hearing from you is that it wasn't a pivot. It was you didn't change direction. It's the same direction. And we're driving now back from the showers that we saw that you were providing, and we're going to meet Saturday night at the demonstrations in Kaplan. It's not one or the other, it's the same fight. And the same fight that you were fighting for before the war, you're fighting for during the war, and will be after the war. The strength is that our people are together. Kol Yisrael Arevim Zel Lezel. Our strength is the optimism that you show. Our strength is the history that you have in your bones. You've lived this state. And we have to take all of that and save this country for your grandchildren, as you said. So I look forward to seeing you at Kaplan on Saturday. I look forward to learning more about what your group is doing. I know it's not only the showers, you're doing trauma relief and other efforts to support the soldiers. And together we'll make sure that the country is victorious in the truest sense of the word.
Yes, sure. You saw the religious soldier in the place that we now have been, and you saw that how they are sticking together, all of them, and it is.
We're one people.
Yes, one people, one tribe. We should be one tribe. But what Bibi did, he divide us. He divide us, but he will go. He will go away, and we will recover.
Well, thank you again. Thank you for driving us today. Thank you for sharing the country, and thank you for being who you are. Shabbat Shalom. All the best.